Now we come to an important question. We said initially that we will initialize a data flow variable with empty set for live variables analysis. So we want to ask a question. Does it matter really? So here we observe that the way we are merging the information, the confluence of the information is union. And here is a first cut explanation of why we choose the empty set for initialization. That is because the identity of union is empty set, which means that if we start with this value, the merge of this value with some other value will not give us a new value, and therefore it's perfectly fine to begin with this value. We will have a deeper explanation of this in the second module, but for now let's go ahead with this particular working definition of the choice of initialization. So the idea is that we begin with empty set and we let the sets at each program point grow. We start with empty set. We can only add things to empty set. We cannot remove anything from an empty set. So which means that when we revisit a program point, we might consider new execution paths. We might find more variables to be live. And the most important thing is a variable found to be live earlier does not become dead. If it's included in a set, there is no way it will be removed from the set at that particular program point. So let us see how the initialization affects the solution. So we have this simple example and we want to see the role of the initialization. So the choice of initialization for us was empty set. If you perform this initialization in the first round, when we perform first iteration, we get empty set here, then empty set, then we get empty set here, then we get B as live here because there is a use of B, and then we get B as live here, and because there is a definition of B, we get empty set here. Now if we were to perform iteration 2, because B is live here and this node has a self loop like this, therefore this node is its own successor. So because B is live here, it will be computed as live here, and therefore we get B live here. And that is the final solution that we get. Instead of starting with an empty set, if we were to start with a universal set, we want to see what the solution would be. When we start with universal set, note that this initialization is not for the boundary info. Our boundary info still remains empty set, and the role of boundary info will be discussed when we discuss available expressions analysis. For now, let's assume that boundary information remains empty set for live variables analysis. However, at all other places, all other data flow variables are initialized with a universal set. For this particular program, the universal set is A, B. If we were to perform analysis over this, we find that here the data flow value is empty set, here it is empty set, here it is A, B. Why is it A, B? Because we will take the value at the exit of this as a union of the entry of this node and the entry of this node, and by initialization the entry has been made A, B, and therefore exit of this is A, B, and therefore we get A, B here, we get A, B here, and we get A, B here. Now if we were to iterate once again, the values are stable. Observe here that A has been marked spuriously live here. There is no use of A in the rest of the program. So A should not be marked as live. However, A is spuriously marked as live. That's because we assumed A to be live at the entry of the loop, which held the A to be live within the loop, and therefore we get a spurious solution. What that means is that if we start with a set other than empty set, we are likely to get spurious values in our result. Note that this is still not a problem, this is an error, but this is a harmless error. This is not a harmful error. The reason is, even if we mark A as live, we will try to say that because A is live, therefore we cannot delete the assignment to A. This is not going to change the behavior of the program. The other thing that we can do with live variables analysis is that we might want to keep a register for A, which is not going to change the behavior of the program as far as the computation is concerned. It might change the behavior of the program as far as execution time is concerned, but that really doesn't matter to us. We are not talking about the efficiency. When we say behavior of the program, we are talking about the result being computed by the program. In either case, the program is going to print B, whether or not we mark A as live. So that tells us what happens when we use a different initialization. So now we want to look at intuitively the notion of soundness and precision of liveness analysis. Note that soundness implies avoiding harmful errors and precision implies minimizing harmless errors. We may not be able to avoid all harmless errors. So we want to look at what is harmful and harmless in the context of dead code elimination. So let's consider dead code elimination based on liveness information for this particular program. Assume that somebody gave us this as the liveness information at this particular program point, which means that there is a spurious inclusion of a non-live variable, because in the rest of the program we have used Y but we have not used X. So this is a spurious inclusion. We are computing a set larger than what it ought to be. And now if we were to do dead code elimination, all we are saying is a dead assignment may not be eliminated. So the solution is sound but may be imprecise, meaning there is certainly an error. Marking X as live here is erroneous, but this error is a harmless error because not removing a dead assignment does not cause any problem. This is just imprecise because now we have a harmless error. However, this is not a harmful error. Now we come to an example of a harmful error. Here the program prints X and Y and we have a spurious exclusion of a live variable, meaning we have forgotten to include, somebody gave us this solution in which X is not live. We don't mark X as live, therefore this assignment may be eliminated by dead code. A useful assignment may be eliminated. If we eliminate this assignment, we will not be able to print the right value of X. If X is a local variable, we'll end up printing some garbage value. If it's a global variable, we'll end up printing 0. This changes the behavior of the program. So this is a harmful error and the solution is unsound. So we are essentially saying that given sets L1 and L2 such that L2 is a superset of L1, using L2 in place of L1 is sound. However, using L1 in place of L2 may not be sound because spurious inclusion of non-live variables is a harmless error. However, missing a live variable could be a harmful error, which means that we would like to have a larger set for soundness. We cannot have a smaller set for soundness. A larger set might give us imprecise solution, but it will give us a sound solution. In order to reduce the imprecision, we would like to compute the smallest set of live variables. So the smallest set of variables that are actually live is the most precise solution. So here is another explanation of why we choose empty set as the initial conservative value. Our liveness sets grow, the confluence is union, and we want the smallest sets that are computed by our solution, and therefore we begin with empty set as the initial value so that we get the smallest set. In the previous example that we had seen, since we didn't begin with the smallest set, we got a larger set here. We began with the smallest set here, so therefore we got the smallest set, and so therefore this solution was more precise than this solution. Note that both the solutions are actually sound. So that tells us a working definition of soundness and precision for live variables analysis. Now we have to answer the question about termination, convergence and complexity. Do we know that live variables analysis will always terminate? And the answer is yes, because of the properties that we have studied just now. Observe that we said that for live variables analysis, the sets can only grow. Okay? And we start with the empty set, and the set of all variables is finite. We're doing static analysis of stack and static variables. The set of variables is fixed for every program and it can only be finite. Now, if we start with an empty set and the set grows and the set is finite, sometime the set will stop growing. There would be a time when we won't be able to add any element to the set, and this guarantees termination. So the termination is guaranteed by two things. A, the sets are finite, and B, the sets can only grow. If the sets could shrink in the middle and then once again grow and once again shrink and once again grow, the values could oscillate. But our data flow equations do not allow this. Once a variable is marked as live, it will continue to remain marked as live. It will not be made non-live ever by our data flow equation. This guarantees termination. And since the initial value is empty set, live variables analysis converges on the smallest set. So termination is guaranteed. Convergence on a sound and precise solution is also guaranteed by this, and we will see this in greater details in module 2. The third question that we need to answer is, how many iterations do we need for reaching the convergence? That's a question that we cannot answer. We are unable to answer right now in this module, but we will answer this question in module 2. But we don't want to study only live variables analysis in this course. We have to be able to go beyond live variables analysis. So you have to ask questions such as, do the sets always grow for other data flow frameworks? The answer is no. For some data flow frameworks, the sets actually shrink. How do we answer similar questions for those data flow frameworks? We'll try to answer those questions in the context of those data flow frameworks, and then we will generalize these observations. And what is the complexity of round robin analysis for other data flow analysis? Again, these are the questions that will be answered in module 2, which deals with the theoretical abstractions of data flow analysis. We want to conclude our discussion of live variables analysis by examining actual examples of inexactness of the result. We said that we may not get the exact results, and we want to see why to understand the conservative nature of analysis. So here is a program. I don't know what the program does when we execute the program, but I know what it does. As far as this course is concerned, it illustrates a useful point. So let's assume that ABS_n computes the absolute value of n, which means that this value will never be negative. And we want to ask a question: is live on entry to is y live on entry to basic block 2? So is y live here? That is a question that we are asking. And if we look at the control flow graph, we do find that there is a use of y here. So we might say, yes, y is live here. However, observe that by the execution semantics, this is an infeasible execution path, because we are computing the value of x using absolute function. The value of x will never be less than 0. it will always be greater than 0. So this condition will never be true. This path will never be executed. Only this path will be executed. However, we are doing static analysis and in general we do not know the values of variables. So we assume all branch outcomes. We make conservative assumptions. We say all branch outcomes are possible. Therefore, we consider every path in the control flow graph as a potential execution path. So our analysis concludes that Y is live on entry to basic block B2. This is an example of inexactness. Again, this is an example of an error or deviation from actual execution. But note that we have already seen that spurious inclusion of Y as live on entry to basic block 2, although it's an error, it is a harmless error. It is not a harmful error. So analysis is conservative. The result of our analysis is conservative. Here is another example to demonstrate the conservative nature of analysis. Once again, we are asking a question: is D live at the entry to basic block B2? Is D live here? So we observe the control flow path going from B1, B2, B4, B6. There is a use of D1. So our analysis will say yes, D is live here. However, by execution semantics, D is not live here. And the reason is, if X is less than 0 here, and if X is less than 0, we will come to this basic block B2. Then we go to basic block B4. And once again, we ask a question, is X less than 0? Here, the value of X has not changed. So if this condition was true here, it will remain true here. There is no way the false branch will be taken here. So this particular execution path B1, B2, B4 and B6 is actually infeasible, and therefore by execution semantics D is not live. Similarly, we ask a question, is C live on entry to block B3? So we are asking a question, is C live here? So we have this condition as true. So we find that B1, B3, B4, B6 is a feasible execution path. If X was less than, if this condition was false, if X was not less than 0 here, then we know that this will still not be less than 0. This is a feasible execution path. Therefore, we say yes, C is live. Again, we come back to this example. A compiler makes conservative assumptions about all possible branch outcomes, which means that our analysis is path insensitive. The result that we are computing is a merge of all paths, is a combination of all paths starting from a program point. Therefore, it is path insensitive. A path sensitive analysis will say at program point P, this particular path has this value, at the same program point, some other path has some other value. But we are not doing that. So therefore, our result is path insensitive, although it is flow sensitive, because information is computed for every control flow path separately. Okay, so our analysis concludes that D is live at the entry of B2, and this is a harmless error. Is C live at the entry of B3? Yes, we have already seen that. So this was at the intra-procedural level. We assume all paths are potentially executable. Our analysis is path sensitive. So this is what we saw just now. The information at P is merged along all paths reaching P, which means that the data flow information reaching P is computed path insensitively. Okay, so this may generate spurious information due to something called non-distributive flow function, which we will study more in module 2. This does not fortunately happen for live variables analysis. At the interprocedural level, there are many notions of context insensitivity, many notions of conservative computation. So at the interprocedural level, the analysis could be conservative because it could be context insensitive. By context we mean information, by context we mean the calling context of a procedure. If a procedure is called from F, it's different from if it's called from procedure G. When we make these distinctions, the analysis is context sensitive. However, there could be analysis which is context insensitive, and that is a conservative analysis. It would be it would have errors, but the errors would be harmless. We will study this in greater details in module 4. We talked about flow sensitive analysis, but we will see that it's possible for us to have flow insensitive analysis also, and we will study examples of this in module 3, where we look at general frameworks. What about soundness of analysis results? Again, we will study this in greater details in module 2. So with that, we come to the end of live variables analysis. In the next lecture in this module, we will then study available expressions analysis.